appreciate if you've kept your drams till as well. If you maybe got them as a Christmas gift or you had them over the festive period, it's very tempting to have them early. So I'm glad if you're having the drums alongside me tonight that you've managed to wait. So I won't take too much of your time in telling you like the process of whiskey, how whiskey's made, raw materials, all that kind of stuff, because I can understand that you guys probably already know that already. So the plan is we're just going to quickly run through a couple of slides on what makes Glenallachie, what makes us as a brand special, and what makes Billy Walker special, and the reason that we're honouring him with the trilogy. So we are Glenallachie. It's a quintessential Speyside single malt, quintessential Speyside distillery. And when we say Speyside, we mean rich, fruity, floral. And these are the main characteristics you're going to get from Glenallachie, all the way from our 8-year-old to our 16-year-old Mizunara, our 21-year-olds, our 30-year-olds. They'll have that rich, fruity, floral, nice chocolatey notes, coffee notes going through. So it's the quintessential Speyside single malt, as I would put it. So in terms of your region, we are smack bang in the middle of Speyside, next to Dufftown, right next to Aberlour. So we've got very good neighbours. We've got Aberlour Distillery, we've got Glenfarclas corner there. Now, to pronounce the name is Glenallachie, like a key that you would stick in the door. Glen means valley, and Allachie means of the rocks. So we are the valley of the rocks. And naturally, when we're talking about glens, usually there's some form of river, some form of water in the vicinity. So for us, we're nestled right at the foot of Ben Runners, and the distillery lies right in the heart of Speyside. So most of the whiskies that you'll probably have at home at bars will be Speysides. We have 16 on-site warehouses, and we've got the capacity to hold over 50,000 casks. For us, we're completely independent. We're a very small a very small distillery, and for us, it's all about the quality at the end of the day. So it's all about having a passionate team, having the right people in the distillery, and appreciating the end-to-end maturation process. And this is ultimately where Billy comes in. So who are we? So we believe in quality over quantity. We're led by our master distiller, Billy Walker, with over 50 years of experience. We're independently owned and managed with the freedom to make decisions for all the right reasons. And we implement an innovative task management philosophy. Now, Billy Walker is an industry legend, an icon, and everywhere I go around the world, people know Billy and adore Billy for his cask management, his wood management, and his wood policy. So it's definitely something that's at the heart of the brand. And we just believe that we can produce spirits of a certain age and integrity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a certain age has to define characteristics of a whiskey. We look. And here's the legend himself, Mr. Billy Walker. We don't pursue absolute consistency, we pursue absolute perfection. So a true industry legend, a true legend within the Scotch whisky community, and like I said, loved and revered worldwide. So after selling the Ben Ria Distilling Company, so he had to work with Ben Ria, Glendronach and Glenallachie. I think it looked as if retirement might have been looming. I think a lot of people said this might be the final move, and couldn't be any further from it. Billy sold those companies up and was constantly trying to find those hidden gems, and luckily enough stumbled upon Glenallachie, bought the distillery and took management in 2017, and has been at the wheel ever since. So with over half a century's experience under his belt, Billy is, and the word gets thrown around quite a lot, an icon, an absolute legend, and an icon of the Scotch whisky industry. And he has amassed countless awards to back this up. He's Master Distiller and Blender of the Year in the World Whisky Awards 2020, and in 2021 was inducted into the Whisky Magazine's prestigious Hall of Fame. So, I mean, you can go through the list and you probably know most of the people that are on the Hall of Fame if you're an avid whisky drinker. So, very good to see Billy getting added to that in 2021. With that, we are absolutely delighted to celebrate and to mark his 50th year in the industry with the 50th anniversary trilogy. So the range goes from sherry, Mizunara, and peated. So it's a little subtle hint at the past, the present, and a little subtle nod to the future of what Glenallachie is, or more specifically, what Billy Walker is to whiskey. It's all about sherry maturation, cask management, and distillation. So what's changed in terms of Billy taking over Glenallachie? This is important because we were a large distillery producing what was effectively just going straight into blends. So since taking over the distillery, we've implemented several changes to the process to place emphasis on quality over quantity. So what does this mean? It means that we've actually slowed down the production at the distillery. So we're now producing anywhere between 400 to 600 litres of alcohol. And this allows for us to have greater supervision throughout the maturation process. So we've actually brought the capacity down to about 20% of what it was when it was owned by Chivas. Now, what does this mean as well? We like to experiment. We like to see what we can do in terms of cask management, but also the process. So we've increased our fermentation time to 160 hours. Now, industry average is probably anywhere between, say, 32, 35, nearly 3 times the average in terms of fermentation time. We believe, obviously, the longer you leave it to ferment, the more flavors you're going to get in the final product. But it gives like nice finish, nice rounded flavors that's ester rich, complex, and fruity. So it plays perfectly into the Speyside characteristics and the highest quality wood possible. Billy's passion for wood management is unrivaled, and in terms of getting the best casks and sourcing the best casks all over the world, that's effectively what allows us to elevate Glenallachie, every one of our SKUs to the next level. In terms of our barrel, we use Concerto. We've got 2 water sources. One's Hen's Head and one's Black Stank. So Hen's Head for our processed water, Black Stank for our cooling water. And these both come at the foot of Ben Rinnes. And then in terms of yeast, it's just liquid distiller's yeast. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much details about process and raw materials because I can imagine if you're on this call, you probably know everything there is to know about the whiskey process already. So very standard malting, milling, mashing, fermentation, distillation, filling, and maturing. I probably won't bother making the joke about Scotch whisky brands only having to distill twice because I also love Irish whisky, so we can just skip past that stage. But for anyone who doesn't know, in order to make Scotch whisky, we have to distill it, has to be kept in oak, and has to be for a minimum of 3 years. Like I said, I'm partial to whisky across the board, so I do like a triple distilled Irish whisky every now and again. This is our core range. If you know Glenallachie, you've had Glenallachie in the past, you probably would have seen or at least tried one of these bottles. The hero of the range is undoubtedly the 12-year-old. It's the one that you'll see in most bars, but we go from 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, all the way up to 30. Each of these expressions has its own cask management, its own finishes, very different drams in every single SKU, and this is what comes down to the wood management, and this is what you'll see in the next drams that we're going to actually taste. It all comes down to cask management, the maturation, and selecting only the finest woods available. And yet, if anyone does have any questions throughout, stick yourself off of mute, ask me some questions, fire them into the comment boxes. I'm more than happy to listen and more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So the main event, I've done too much talking already. If we're good to go, I'm happy to start tasting. What do you think, Jack?
I'd say these lads are already parched. So a great quick rundown of how you do it over in Glenallachie there. But let's get into some 16-year-old. Or I don't know which way you want to start. But I was going to go with the past in my eye, but you might know a better lineup. Hello? Sorry, bear with us, guys. There, I think we might have just lost Declan. But I will try to get him back. You wouldn't mind bearing with us. Here, so we'll get back to. Sorry for the brief interruption there, but will we get into the whiskey now as a good way to move on?
Yes, that's the perfect icebreaker. So I'll just share my screen again, and we are sorry. I'll just quickly zoom through these slides. Yeah, so I'll run back through this one from the top. So I'm not too sure where we got before where we kept off, but Billy Walker's 50th anniversary. It's all about past, present, and future. And like you said, it plays homage to Billy's past, Glenallachie as a brand future, and present, and then looking forward to the future as to what we might be looking to do. So when we talk about past, aged for 16 years, and this is all about sherry maturation. When we walk into the present, it's all about 16 years in Mizunara oak. And then for your future, it's the 4-year-old slightly peated. So I'll keep the peated information till the end because it's a fantastic dram. To be honest, we're very lucky tonight to be tasting these because these are some of the best whiskies I've had in a long time. So, as I said, without further ado, more than happy to get stuck into the first one.
Just
So
just a quick sorry, Declan, just a quick one before we get really into it. But Fran is asking there just a quick any insight at all into why the cask strength 10-year-old, which I know we're not having this evening, but the batch four won the best single malt at the World Whiskey Awards or WWA, I think that's World Whiskey Awards, and then best whiskey a few years ago. Great achievements, but any kind of like why that batch four? Was there anything you did a bit differently or?
well, it's funny because we've just released batch eight, and a lot of people are saying that the batch eight is very similar to the four, and it could potentially be even better. I think just in terms of the drum for the age statement, for a 10-year-old, it's unbelievably mature. The flavour is very rounded, it's very balanced. I know that balanced is quite a cliched word when it comes to whiskey, but I think in terms of it's 4 different casks. So you're talking PX, Oloroso, Virgin Oak, and Spanish wine, so specifically Rioja. So you're getting a lot of the punchiness of the fruit. You're getting some of that virgin oak, so you're getting your vanillas, your caramels, and then when you get the Rioja, you're getting that spicy fruit finish. So for me, I like to describe it as like Christmas cake in a glass. So very warming. The fact it's cask strength as well is fantastic value for money. But all of these awards are normally blind tasted. They're tasted by industry experts. They're tasted by ourselves, competitor brands, competitor master blenders, distillers. So I wouldn't say it's luck, but I just say it's just about being in the right place at the right time, offering the right product. And let's say in terms of a 10-year-old, it's very, very complex, keeps the flavour, like the brand story as well. Glenallachie was a relatively new brand at the time of the 10-year-old batch four coming out. So it was quite a statement piece for us to release it. So we're just happy that it had such success. But I've managed to taste some of the batch three, some of the batch four, batch five, six, seven, and just got a batch eight for my Christmas. They have the same cask management, but very subtle flavour, very subtle aroma differences, but the same characteristics in terms of long finish, like longevity, luxuriousness. So I just think in terms of what it is for an age statement, the fact it packs that little bit of cask strength without effectively blowing your head off.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like you had some great bottling there for Christmas, but I mean, we're about to have a 16-year-old sherry cask at 57.1%, so I think we're in for a bit of a treat here too. So certainly. I do apologize, guys. I'm not too sure what's going on. I hope you got as much information about that and not delaying the tasting at all. We'll get into that now. It's good to get the questions in, and nice to hear about it. But as where Declan seems to be kicked out of it again. I'm not too sure. I know when we were talking just before, he was saying the weather, like here, was quite bad in Scotland. So I don't know if it's a combination of those factors, but hopefully once he gets back in this time, we should have no issue. But again, my apologies on this, but I'll be back to you shortly.
Out again. So we've got Billy Walker's 50th anniversary. So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to start with Past, which is the sherry, and it's aged for 16 years. So if you grab my drum. Now, in order to celebrate Billy's half-century long career in the whisky industry, the idea was to create homage to his past, his present, and the future. To celebrate what his career was in the past, where we are at the moment as a brand, and where we might be going in the future. So we start with Past. So this represents Billy's past when he made his name for himself, releasing heavily sherried expressions. So you might know some of the other brands, like I said, like Enrique or Glendronach or Glenallachie, heavily influenced by Spanish sherry, heavily influenced by port. Now this one is 100% sherry matured, and it's overflowing with rich espresso, heather honey, glazed figs, and sweet spices. These We'll get to the tasting notes, but this is just some basic information before we get started. This one is also presented naturally at cask strength, so this one comes in at 57.1%. Naturally, with most Glenallachie products, all Glenallachie products, it's no added colouring and non-chill filters, and this is for maximum flavour, maximum texture, longevity, and just that luxurious long finish. In terms of this bottling, we actually only released 4,000 bottles worldwide. As you said, it's the first bottling in the anniversary trilogy, specifically selected by Billy himself. Fully aged in Spanish sherry and bottled at 57.1. I've got all these info sheets as well, so if you'd like a copy of these, I can send them over to Jim after. That way you guys can maybe print them off or keep them as a PDF for your own use later on. I always like to have tasting notes at hand when I'm trying whiskies and when I'm reevaluating whiskies. So in terms of your colour, if you can see it's I mean a perfect colour. In terms of that sherry influence, it's just deep mahogany. I mean, I don't think there's a better word to describe it. Very luxurious, very amazing colour. You can see the influence in the cask straight away. In terms of the nose, now what you're going to get first is just waves of those walnuts, those dried almonds, that nice dried nutty fruitiness. You get your heather honey, you get your dried fruits. So for me, a lot of like your apples, your pears, your caramels, then bursting with that toasted coffee, that mocha, and then a little bit of like orange peel, cinnamon, citrusiness at the end. So really, you're going through a journey of nuttiness, fruitiness, chocolatiness, and then you end on that citrusy spiciness. Unbelievable on the nose, in my opinion. Like, unbelievable. I've been waiting about 3 weeks to have this dram as well. So my mouth watering at the prospect of having it. So say in Scotland, slantra var to your health, as you would say in Ireland, slantra. So please
Gotcha.
enjoy. Let it coat your mouth. Really enjoy it. Just let it sit on the palate. Don't think about it too much. The tasting notes are on the screen if you want to see them. I'm going to really enjoy it. Really, I'd love to hear from you guys if you've got anything that you're picking up that I've maybe not covered. I want to know. I don't want to just sit here and tell you how it tastes and how it smells. I want to hear what you guys have got to say because it's a fantastic dram. If you don't mind, I'm going to have some as well. So cheers.
All right.
I mean, it's
Like,
great. Like, so good. You don't get that big punch of cast strength. Like it doesn't hit you with like that harsh alcohol, like really high esters. It's super smooth, super creamy. On my palate, lovely long finish. Well, actually, I tasted this at an event previously, and someone said it's liquid figs, and I love that. So I've started calling most of our expressions liquid figs or liquid raisins. I think it's a very nice way of putting it, but you can taste it. It's the sherry influence is there straight from the get go. You're getting the dark brown sugars. You're getting the figs. You're getting that little plain nuts like the almonds, the toasted caramel, the honey, the crystallized ginger. Like this is everything that Glenallachie is in one dram. It's rich, fruity, floral, and it's unbelievable. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. I can see a comment up in the chat section. Try and click
yeah,
that.
no, nose is like an old fashioned. Definitely an interesting one there. And I think you might have a prospective taster there. And Alan, he got all the notes you wrote, and then the brown sugar, fruity apricot jam. Definitely a like kick to it there. He knows what he's at. Seemingly that Christmas cake, Fran. I'm definitely agreeing with you there. You
Yeah,
know.
100%. It's funny because I this is what I say when I'm tasting the 10-year-old. It's Christmas cake in a glass. Our 15-year-old and our 16-year-old all have that very fruity influence. And like you said, you're losing Christmas cake. It's caramel, it's raisins, it's eggs, it's super sweet, super nutty, super chocolatey. And I think this lives up to that 100%. In terms of cast strength, yeah, I mean it's 57.1, so I'd say it's probably lower on the cast strength in terms of strength aspect, but in terms of that still on the palate, still lingering there. It's an unbelievable dram, and the fact that there's no those in the world, I think that's what makes it a little bit more special. Is that this is like a seriously sought after whiskey, and it's a very very good example of what makes Billy such a legend in terms of cash management, in terms of knowing his woods, knowing the sherries. You could sit, and it's annoying having to do like a speed tasting across all three of these drams because they're all so good. I could sit and drink this for like 2 hours and I would just sit and I would nurse it all night because it's so good. So feel free to keep a little bit for later. I'm happy to send the tasting notes over. And if you guys want any information or any copy from me, I'm more than happy to send it individually. But yeah, I think Dave and Fran have hit it spot on. Like it is, it's an old fashioned without the hassle. You're getting everything in there that you would like in a cocktail in a dram, and it's not just marketing. It's not just copywriting. It's legit. This is, in my opinion, it's one of the best whiskies in the world. Simply put, and obviously I'm biased, but I think it's one of the best whiskies I've had in a long time. And I'm actually quite excited to get onto the Mizunara as well because that's that's just as good.
Yeah, like um, like Dave saying there, a small drop of water added to it. I think Fran said something similar. Definitely opens it up. I put one in, a couple in offside there, and it definitely opens up those fruity figgy notes. And it's just made like a little bit longer lasting too in the finish for me anyway. So definitely can stand up to a couple of drops of water. I know some people are a bit afraid to put them in, but I would recommend definitely just to see the difference.
Yeah, I would always advocate that it's your bottle, it's your dram, do whatever you like with it. If it's a little bit of water, if it's a couple of ice cubes, whatever you do to enjoy your whiskey, then that you're the boss effectively. Whether it's you have completely different tasting notes, whether you can pick up on different aromas, whiskey's such a personal experience. So there's no point in me sitting here and saying it is definitively fig syrup, it is definitively heather honey. We want to hear what you guys think of it because everyone's got different palates, everyone's got different like sensory memory banks. I could say that this tastes like my grand's homemade marmalade, but no one would know what that tastes like other than me. So I think it's very personal, and if adding a little bit of water or adding an ice cube or two is how you like to have it, then that's good enough for us.
Exactly, 100%. Even funny, we'll be tasting some of these in the shop from time to time, and it's wildly different. And we're like, we've tasted a lot of these, so whatever you do to enjoy it, I 100% agree. Maraschino cherries from Fran there on the nose a bit. Yeah, I don't think I spend enough time around a maraschino cherry to know that smell it too much, but that's more
Yeah,
to be said about me than than anyone.
Bran obviously has very expensive taste, and we like that. I think
Yeah.
if you get the maraschino on this one, you're going to love the Mizunara. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, what's the feedback? Everyone enjoying it? Everyone glad that they waited? I mean, I know I am.
I'm certainly glad I got to be able to be on this call. So definitely some fancy stuff there, which I'm loving. But if you want to throw it into the chat, guys, I mean, don't let Fran and Dave have all the fun, you know. Let us know, or if you want to keep it to yourself too, because you think it's too good and you don't want to let anyone else know, that's fine as well. But I suppose we get on to the Mizunara in a minute, you might be opening up a bit more too.
Yeah, and the thing is, with my role's international as well. So if ever you guys want to see any Glenallachie events held at Celtic Whiskies, then we're more than happy to come over. Like you said, if we're going to be doing in-store tastings, if we've got some cool stuff coming out in 2023. So I've got a feeling you guys will probably be seeing a little bit more of me. I'm very excited to come over to Ireland soon. But if you have any questions, if you want to know anything about the brands personally, I'll leave my email address and my contact details if you need to send that you want to make privately. I'm more than happy to receive any emails or any feedback after the session. So I'm just this is definitely one for it's definitely one for savouring. It feels almost blasphemous trying to drink this in 15 minutes, but someone's got to do it.
It's a hard job, but someone has to try.
But yeah, if you guys are good, I'm more than happy to move on to the Mizunara, even if we could talk about it and then we can take that one slowly. I'm happy to move on and just run through the bullet points of the Mizunara, and then we can actually get to tasting and we can enjoy it for another 5-10 minutes if you like.
That sounds like a plan to me. Sure, we can slowly finish off the sherry finish, and while you're talking about the points, we can move into the Mizunara, you know?
And personally, I'm keeping about half of my shares for later on. I like to compare them with it being a trilogy. You've got that opportunity to go back, and this is the whole point. It's past, present, future. So you can step back into what Glenn Allachie and what Billy's journey was. You can step into the future and see what the journey is now, and then our future, you can see where we're going. So it's actually quite good to keep a little bit of these ones behind and really it's always good to compare. Um, so yeah, I like to leave if I'm ever doing tastings, I usually leave a little half so that when I finish at the end, I can reevaluate them in my own time. So without further ado, let's jump on to the Mizunara. It's also another great dram. So once again, this Mizunara is aged for 16 years. This is present. So this is all about and this is also another rare expression. So this is all about the cask management. We touched on sherry being what Billy's history and what Billy's expertise was in the past, and effectively what put him in the limelight as a master blender, as a master distiller. But this is where we are now. We've got a new brand on our hands. We always look for innovative cask management. How can we do things slightly differently, but how can we do it in such a way that is very, very high quality? So in terms of our initial maturation, we have these in PX, Oloroso sherry casks, and then we finish off in the Mizunara cask. If you know about Mizunara casks, they're very expensive. They're also very scarce. They're also very porous. So you tend to lose a lot of the liquid either to the cask itself or to evaporation. So initial PX, Oloroso maturation, and then finishing it in the Mizunara is what allows it to be incredibly rounded, incredibly smooth, but then also you get all those lovely bits from the milk. Mizunara is one of my Mizunara was one of my favourite casks. We've got a little echo going on.
Yeah, I'm not too sure there. 1 second.
Oh, good. Yeah, so
My apologies there. Not too sure what happened, guys, but thanks.
no problem at all, mate. So yeah, in terms of having Mizunara, personally, it's one of my favourite casks. It's one of my favourite cask finishes. It's something I look out for in whiskies. I just feel like you get a lot of sophisticated, like a lot of those vanillas, very similar to bourbon casks in that sense, where you're getting a lot of that vanilla, your cracked black pepper, but it brings so much impurity out of the spirit. So when you have something that's in Mizunara cask, I just find that it's so luxurious, so velvety, so creamy, and so smooth. But our signature is your PX, your Oloroso. We finish our 15-year-old exclusively in PX, hogsheads, and puncheons. And for an everyday dram, the 15-year-old Glenallachie is my go-to. It's what we had on Christmas Day. It's what I spend my bottle allowance on when I get it once a year. So the Mizunara is a very similar, very subtle nod to like what our 12-year-old is, what our 15-year-old is, but with that added extra layer of complexity and luxury, really. They said they're notoriously difficult to copper. They're prone to leaking, and they are very rarely used for whiskey. In all fairness, but having posing difficulties with the porous nature, it means that the spirit gets to sink deeper into the wood, which means it can impart more complex notes. So you're getting more of that like vanilla, your sandalwood, your cinnamon, your cracked black pepper. So you do lose some of the whiskey to the cask, unfortunately, but what you gain comes out packed with flavour. This one is even more scarce in terms of bottles. So we have a very, very limited release of 2,900 bottles worldwide. This is the second bottle of the anniversary trilogy. We staggered them out, so it made sense to go past, present, future. Once again, specifically selected by Billy Walker himself, and then limited release 2,900 bottles, matured in Japanese Mizunara cask. This one's bottled at 48%, so you're not going to get that cask strength like punch of flavour at the start. When I talk about smooth, rounded, complex, you're going to taste this straight off the bat. It's going to be a lot creamier to what we've just tasted. And I think the sherry's a great place to start in terms of warming up your palate, and this is a great place to continue that journey. As always, presented in natural colour and non-chill filtered for maximum flavour. And here's one I prepared earlier. So in terms of your colour, we've got this one intense chestnut. This one's, I'd say, a little bit lighter than your sherry, just a little lighter. It's still a very intense colour. Chestnut is fantastic, and you can see obviously the influence that the PX and the Oloroso sherry casks have had in terms of the colour. And then you get that little bit more of the blondie auburn finish from the colour due to the Mizunara cask. Is once again like right up my street, and yeah, Dave has absolutely nailed it again. It's dark chocolates, it's pecans, it's toasted and roasted almonds. This is why I love the 15-year-old as an everyday dram. This signature Glenallachie that we're doing at present is all about dark chocolate, heather honey, like those toasted almonds. Like you said, you get that sandalwood, the ginger, like the orange zest, your vanillas and coconuts and caramels from the Mizunara cask. So on the nose, it takes you on a journey as well. And that journey is more of a dark chocolate through to nuts and then through to your fruit and then back on the once again, non-offensive on the nose, super luxurious, like great to just sit and nose this. And yeah, Fran as well, fantastic. That citrus is very typical of the Glenallachie. You're going to get that little bit of like, so for us it's that mocha, like the chocolate. And the citrus just cuts in right. It like gives between your fruits, your nuts, and zesty like orange finish. And I think we need to taste this one as well. I don't think we're going to have too many complaints. So, Flan too far. Cheers, everyone. And I'm very happy that the internet's managed to stand up to the
You
screens
had
for
to say it
once.
now. You've jinxed it.
If it goes off, please just enjoy the peated without me. We'll be back. So yeah, once again, I'm probably just I'm going to refresh the palate with a little bit of water. And yeah, straight in. It's 48%. Lovely long finish, great flavour. Really let it just sit on the palate. I won't go through the tasting notes at the moment. Just sit and enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy mine as well.
You kind of have to leave it sit there for a little while just because, get that full enjoyment out of it. You can't be jumping straight into giving tasting notes. And you have to sit and enjoy it for a minute.
Because it's in your Mizunara cask as well, you've got to think that the Mizunara cask is like your tongue. It's very porous. It soaks into the wood the same way that the whiskey soaks into your tongue. And if you just give it like an extra second and just really think about it, the flavors keep evolving, the flavors keep changing. Like incredibly smooth, incredibly complex. For a 16-year-old whiskey, it's so rich and so decadent. The only problem with this whiskey is just that there aren't enough bottles to go around. Like I could happily drink this every single day. The problem is there just aren't enough bottles in the world to do so. Well, this is a real treat. And if anyone got you the gift pack for Christmas, then you need to get them a really good gift next year because these are some incredibly good whiskies. But yeah, in terms of your tasting notes, once again we go back to the heather honey, the cinnamon. So you're getting a little bit more of that citrusy and a little bit more of that gingerness, and that's going to come from the PX and the Oloroso. So maybe say your crystallized ginger, the Demerara sugar, like dark berries, hazelnuts, and fig syrup. Now, once again, it's sherry influence with the PX and the Oloroso, but where the Mizunara comes in is where you get more of your coconuts, more of your heather honeys, more of your sugary notes. And once again, it's just a fantastic dram. And it's one that if I was sitting at a bar, I could easily sit and drink this all night, and I would probably make the one dram last for about an hour and a half because it's just really nice to sit, savor, let it coat the mouth, enjoy the finish. Just truly luxurious and truly beautiful thing.
That it is, and the all those notes there, the demerara sugar and such, like a lot of dark fruits. I haven't tasted that on Mizunara as much in the past, so it's really interesting to see it come through in these. I don't know if those extra years compared to what I've tasted in the past might have changed that to get those darker fruits, but I usually associated Mizunara with citrus and lighter fruits. So
Yeah, like
see,
normally if I was having a Mizunara finished whiskey, I would probably expect, yeah, tons of vanilla, probably more on like the bourbon, like your apples and pears, like your standard orchard fruit finish. One of the tasting notes I saw for a Mizunara was birthday cake, and I thought that was dead exciting because it's creamy, it's sugary, it's right. You know exactly what you're tasting when you're tasting birthday cake. This doesn't lean into that aspect of it. Like you said, your dark berries, like robust flavor, like that. I think this expression and due to Billy's cask management, it gets the best out of the Mizunara. It gets the best out of the PX, and it gets the best out of the Oloroso. It's funny, we'll be sitting in the office on a today actually we were sitting in the office and Billy came in and he popped down something on the table and he says, try that, let me know what you think of that. And it's fantastic. He's always working, he's always creating, he's always letting us as a team taste. And it's fantastic. It's a very collaborative experience working at Glenallachie. So we like to pitch in with tasting notes. We like to pitch in with flavors. Maybe it could be aged in a little bit more of this. Maybe it could be intensified. And everything is very collaborative. But Billy is always pushing for the finest. And Alan has just asked if the 50th anniversary editions are available in Ireland. That's probably a better question for you to answer, Jim.
Yeah, I don't think we got any for the shop. I can double check that. I know I had the past edition. I run the auction for the shop. So I had the past edition was placed in an auction beforehand. A customer came in with one. I presume they got it in Scotland. I don't know if they're available in Ireland, to be perfectly honest. But I can find that out and let you guys know. I haven't seen them personally, and going based on what that sold for in the auction, I'm almost certain that if we had got it in, I'd be more aware. To be perfectly honest with you, the past edition, I think it went for 750 or 770 euro. So, we had the fourth edition in the most recent auction. Another customer from Scotland came in, or I don't know if they're from Scotland, but I presume. And they had the fourth edition, which was the peated one. So I'm waiting. Hopefully they'll another customer might bring in the present edition, and we'll see. But they are very much like hen's teeth, as Fran says there. So I can't say for certain if we got them in the shop or if they're in Ireland, but they could be. One or two people have dropped them in for the auction, so I don't know 100%.
I know that the future the future is in Ireland. I was working with Ali to get some bottles over. So there were a couple of cases of the future edition sent over. The only problem is that was about 2 months ago, and I can probably guarantee they've definitely already been sold.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised at that. Like I know obviously that like this is from Jams delivered, so the bar obviously got some for this, but in actual on retail, I don't think we saw any of the past or present,
well,
unfortunately.
watch this space.
You're gonna get a lot of emails now. You were polite to them earlier saying you give tasting notes, and now they're all gonna be asking, can you get a bottle sent over? How much and
Yeah,
where?
so thankfully, thankfully, I managed to get a bottle for myself, and I hate, like it seems like it's bragging, but it took me an incredible amount of work to get these. That's why they're still closed. Like these aren't going anywhere. Um, so it was even a nightmare for me to try and get a couple of bottles of this. It was just across the board, every country, every allocation was sold. Everyone just, yeah. As soon as this came out, it just exploded. And I think given the probably the prevalence of the anniversary itself, like it sounds biased, but it's definitely a little slice of whiskey history here. Um, not every day that someone celebrates 50 years of anniversary of being in the whiskey industry, especially with someone with Billy's pedigree. So, yeah, if you can find a bottle, yeah, try and get your hands on it.
Yeah, definitely do our best. That's for sure. The no, I'm definitely agreeing with yourself there. That long lingering aftertaste, Fran, is just I'm still with it, and I think the last sip I took there was a couple of minutes ago, and it's still with me. So yeah, really, really great stuff.
We're very fortunate that we get to go to shows and we get to try whiskies and we get to try our own stuff, obviously. And we're always bringing out very like cool single casks. We're always doing really cool, like the 50th anniversary is as a brand is unbelievable what we've managed to produce in these free whiskies. So being able to have the opportunity to taste these with you guys is genuinely it's the best part of my job as well. I love being able to revisit these whiskies. So thank you very much for the opportunity and for having me because if it wasn't for this tasting, I probably wouldn't have the opportunity to taste it again either. So if you guys weren't here, I wouldn't be here. So thank you very much for that. So I'm glad we're all enjoying it together.
Yeah, and especially on a stormy night, like we are saying earlier, sitting in with a nice couple of whiskeys, I couldn't think of a better way to start off into January, or should I say a
Yeah,
little bit into the
exactly.
middle of January now.
Yeah, it's terribly windy out here. Obviously, you can imagine Scottish weather isn't all it's cracked up to be. It's pretty miserable and grey here. Sitting here, the only thing that would make this better is if we had some football on the TV, we had some music over here, maybe some snacks, we'd be good to go. I could sit here all night and do this. So we'll probably shut this off at about 3 in the morning. If everyone's cool staying here till 3 in the morning, that's fantastic.
Sounds good. Actually, just a quick one there, and I was curious about this myself. Billy is one of the best at cask management or wood management, what would be one of the older, shall we say, casks in the inventory there? There I know when the distillery was taken over, there was sort of talks there was some stuff from the 1970s and 80s. I presume that's not there anymore, but I could be very wrong. So is there anything kind of
Off the
proper?
top of Yeah, off the top of my head, I couldn't give you a definitive answer on what we have in terms of oldest. But we do have that obviously we've got the 25, we've got the 30. The distillery was founded in 1967. So the distillery never started making spirit until 1968. So I mean, going off of that basis, there could be stuff as old as 1968. They said it's probably unlikely, and what's left of it, most of it will probably evaporated by now. But yeah, once again, I'd watch this space. Yeah, we've got a lot of interesting things coming up and a lot of inventory that we acquired when we bought the distillery. So it's an exciting time. And given the track record, the 21 was very popular, our 30-year-old was very popular. So yeah, there might be some stuff in there that might be worth keeping your eyes peeled for.
Oh, for sure. I have a sinking feeling in a couple of years you're gonna go, we found a cask there and it's 55 years old.
Yeah, Billy found it by hand. He had to dust all the stour off of it, and we found it was 70 years old. What a coincidence! Can't
Yeah.
believe we found it in the back here. Yeah, yeah. Watch this space. I think we've got some exciting stuff coming up. But yeah, best judgment is 21, 25, 30. Who knows? Who knows what might be there? But there's some serious whiskey. If you guys ever get the opportunity to come over as well, please let us know. I'm up at the distillery quite, and the team are always more than happy to have you, especially if you say you've been on virtual tastings and you've spoke with myself. Um, it's great to get up to the distillery. The guys will treat you fantastically. You'll get the VIP experience in person. And if you haven't been, it's definitely a hidden gem in that little Aberlour Valley. So if you ever get the chance to come, please make sure you let us know. I'd be more than happy to come up and meet you guys at the distillery myself as well. So anything you guys need, you just let me know.
I'll be sure to annoy you myself, but I hope the rest of the guys here do too.
I think you know you're welcome anytime, Jack. Anytime. The same way when I'm welcome to Ireland, I'll be coming over. We'll be having some Guinnesses and we'll be taking it easy.
Yeah, you can't be doing that now. But sure, I'm sure you'll be over to Ireland for Whiskey Live. So,
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good call. We'll be over for Whiskey Live, and we'll have most of the core range. We We might have some single casks. We might have some exclusives. We've got the Spirit of Speyside coming up as well, so the big festival. We might have some stuff available from there. So you never know. And it'll be myself that's at Whiskey Live as well. So if you guys come over, please let me know, and more than happy to give you the VIP treatment as well.
Sounds like a plan. Will we see take a little look into the future? I'm sure these guys have finished off some of those whiskeys by now, and we might as well see what the future holds for Glenallachie here with its peated distillate.
Yes, please.
If that's okay with you, obviously.
That is great. It's perfect for me. To be honest, I'm not going anywhere tonight, so this is great. So this is Billy Walker's 50th anniversary, and this is Future Edition. So this is peated, and it's 4 years old. Now I know what you're thinking. Why go from a 16 to a 4? So when we've got the 4-year-olds, it's not just 4-year-old single malt. It's also our first peated release, but it's also the first ever distillate produced by Billy at the Glenallachie distillery. So Billy purchased the distillery in 2017. 2018 we began production. 4 years later, we've got Future. So this is what you're tasting right now is the first distillate and the first product from the Glenallachie distillery since Billy Walker took over. So once again, it sounds cliche, but it's liquid history. This is a proper nod into the future of Glenallachie and where Billy wants to take the brand going forward. So we hint at future endeavours. I'd say it's quite a subtle and quite a fair hint, but this expression has had a very lengthy fermentation, like you said, 160 hours. I think it's just over that, to be honest. I think it's 163. Or we say 160 just to round it up, but we're 3 times the average in terms of, or the industry standard of fermentation. And like I said, we want to get those ester rich. We want it when the final distillate comes out, it's going to be really compact, really fruity, really sophisticated. And the longer we leave it to ferment, Billy believes that we're going to have more flavour, we're going to have more complexity. So yeah, what you're holding in your hand right now is the first whiskey made by Billy Walker from Glenallachie Distillery, which is unbelievable. So like I said, the result is ester rich. It's fruity. It's very mature. And where we're going to get a lot of this complexity and a lot of the spice, and what rounds out the peat comes from the former rye and bourbon barrels. Now, personally, when I think of rye, I think it's very dry. I think it's very light. I think it's definitely very like peppery and very. I hesitate to use the word smoky, but I get like a dry, subtle smoke, like a real dryness from rye. And then bourbon, once again, vanillas, caramels, apples, pears. And then we use some virgin oak just for good measure there as well. We use mainland peat. This is an amber-hued spirit off the top of my head. The colour is auburn. It offers up something quite distinctive. What we've tried previously, no smoke, no peat, just straight up rich fruity floral. And this is smoky, it's sweet, and it's bursting with more of that spiciness, the apples, the oak. And this is the final bottling of the anniversary trilogy. Once again, specifically selected. Yeah, exactly. Once Dave and Fran keep knocking it out of the park here. Very salty. I'm not the biggest fan of peated whiskies myself, but when you get that like that sea salt, like that dry, that vegetation, doesn't sound like it's a great thing, but that vegetation, that peat, that saltiness, that earthiness is what really makes this stand out. It's not comparative to like a Lefroy or a Talisker in terms of like big, like peat punchy. This is very subtle, still remains fruity, nice and salty, nice and creamy, nice and earthy. So yeah, I think Dave's hit that on the head again. Still a limited release. This one's got 10,000 bottles. And this should be, it will be in Ireland. Unfortunately, I think all the bottles that are in Ireland will have owners. So unless you know the owners, then you're out of luck on that one, unfortunately. like I said, watch this space. You never know what we might be able to find in a couple of weeks or a couple of months' time. You never know. So this is matured in the ex-bourbon and rye barrels and the virgin oak. So you're using three different casks for this. So the bourbon is your fruity, your sweety, your soft, your peppery. Your rye is more of your dry, like I said, like a dry smoke. And then when you use your virgin oak, you're getting a lot more of that creaminess. This one's also bottled at cask strength, so this one's 60.2%. And once again, natural colour, non-chill filtered, maximum flavour, maximum texture. Colour, auburn. I'm good at my job, I managed to remember that. But we're talking a lot lighter than the two comparatively. You can see that this has a lot more of the influence from the virgin oak and from the bourbon and the rye. I mean, all casks have major influence here in terms of the colour. It's very light. I wouldn't go as far to say it's like straw. Auburn is probably a fair assessment in terms of the colour. You can see it's a lot lighter. Yes, you can't really tell what a whiskey is going to taste like just by looking at it. That's why we have to nose it. That's why we have to taste it, which is the fun part of the job. So when it comes to, yeah, exactly. The first tasting note here is toasted honeycomb. So when you're thinking of like your honeycomb, you're maybe thinking like a crunchy, like a crunchy's chocolate bar where it's like honeycomb and like that little bit of like saltiness, that little bit of chocolate. It's all in there. So it's not like heavy on the peat smoke. It is light in terms of what you're getting is that toasted honeycomb. You're getting the dried fruits again. In terms of dried fruits, this is more of like your apricots, probably veering more away from like your apples and pears. It is more like your lighter stone fruits like your apricots. And then when it comes to hazelnuts, a little bit of that oak, you're starting to get heat, you're starting to get the smoke. And then dark chocolate and warm cinnamon just to kind of wrap everything up. So like I said, if it's like a really smoky, crunchy chocolate bar in that sense. Like it's dry, it's chocolatey, it's caramelly, it's just full of goodness. And it's cask strength. I don't know what you guys think, but in terms of a cask strength whiskey, I'm expecting it to knock me off my chair. In terms of alcohol percentage, this is the highest of everything we've tasted and nosed today. And I think it's got one of the more subtler noses and one of the more subtler palates. So I mean, it packs a punch at 60.2%. So once again, I'll stop talking for 2 minutes and we'll enjoy this one. So cheers, Slancher.
Launch it.
It's so it's so complex, and this is what even I, as a Glenallachie employee, 4-year-old whiskey shouldn't be this complex. And it's all down to cask management. It's all down to our raw materials. If I was to blind taste this, I would not in a million years expect this to be a 4-year-old whiskey. Like in terms of what you're getting in terms like in flavour, like first thing you get the spice. On my palate, I get the spice. You're getting the cinnamon, you're getting the ginger. It really dances on the palate. Yeah, exactly. Like
It,
for
it
a 4-year-old, it is unreal.
it has
Um,
way more going on for it. I mean, like you said in a blind taste test, like you just don't expect, not that you expect mediocrity and never from the likes of yourselves, but like no one expects a 4-year-old to pack that much complexity. You say, oh yeah, it's nice, but no, that has a lot more going for it. Like how you managed to fit that much in. Is it the 160 hours in that fermenter that helps along? Maybe, but that would doesn't drink like a 4-year-old at all.
well, this is the thing. Like it's obviously contentious. We don't know. Like, is the 160 hours what's making that difference? Is it the cask? No, it's everything. It's every aspect of it. That everything that goes into this dram goes in it for a reason. And I think that Billy's bold. Billy is keen to experiment. So to produce this first distillate at 160 hours, to have that round finish, the smoothness, the creaminess, but then that I love Dave's use of like dirty smoke. That's great. I'm going to use that one going forward, Dave. So thank you very much. It is quite dirty. It's quite earthy and quite pretty, and that's lovely. It's really generous. Like you said, sea salty, dirty, natural, earthy. And I think that's what we're going for. Like it's as it comes, like it is what it is. It's a 4 year old peated single malt from Glenallachie, long maturation time, packed full of flavour, super smooth, super complex. And as a nod to future endeavours, I think it only means one thing that that the distillery and the whiskey's in good hands, and that the plan for Glenallachie was always to improve the brand, to advance the brand. And if this is the first place that we are starting with a whiskey this good at 4 years old, can you imagine what the 12-year-old's going to be like? Can you imagine what the 15 is going to be like? Can you imagine what the 21 is going to be like in all those years' time? It's very, very exciting. But yeah, it's even just talking like tobacco is also a very good tasting note here in terms of that dirtiness and that linger. It's very it is very earthy, it's very grounded, but then it goes through the cinnamon, the toastiness, the spiciness, then you get that sweet like heather honey and tobacco and smoked barley. You can really taste this is a peated whiskey, there's no getting away from it, but it doesn't really pack that big punch like a Lafroig would. And it's growing up, my dad always used to let me try the little bit of Lafroig when I was growing up. And funnily enough, I used to sit around and say, I'm never going to like whiskey. So look at me now. So, he's glad that we tried his Lafroig all those years ago. But this is much more subtle. It's exactly, it definitely didn't work. Definitely didn't work.
An attempt was made, but that was all where it went.
I let my dad try this tonight on the way home from work, and it was by far his favourite one. And I knew before he even tasted it's exactly what he said. So you can imagine the shock on his face when he found out that it was a 4 year old, just like everyone else. There's like an assumption that a 4 year old's going to lack flavour, it's going to lack complexity. And to be honest, I think it's a fair assumption. The longer you leave something, the better it's going to get. But this is where I'll keep saying it and I'll say it again. This is where Billy comes into his own cask management, knowing exactly what to do at the right time, when to do it, what cask to use, what raw ingredients, what raw materials, the fermentation time changing. All of this has an impact on the final flavour. The fact that we were bold enough as well to make this cask strength. We could have produced more bottles at 40%, but we kept it cask strength because it's true to the spirit and it's true to what Billy wants to do. So yeah, it's a fantastic dram. I think all three of the drams that we've tried tonight are all dramatically different from each other, but all stand alone are fantastic. And the last I took a drink of this about 5 minutes ago, and I can still taste it. It's unbelievable.
No, definitely, it stays with you. Like I'm probably about the same as yourself, maybe 2, 3 minutes ago, and I'm still getting new flavors coming out of it. I'm like you said, that dirty smoke that you're gonna steal from Dave there. Brilliant line as well. I think that like you don't often like smoke is such a generically used term. Oh, it has smoky peaty notes to it. You never hear someone go, it has a dirty smoke to it. And I like that. That's kind of funny and a bit different of a way to say it, but it does. It sort of and it kind of keeps evolving as well, you know?
Yeah, and like I yeah, personally when it's like, I'll give someone a completely like a 15-year-old and the first thing they'll say is it's really peaty. And I'm like, there's no peat, there's no smoke, there's nothing in here. Like I say, I think it's quite an easy assumption to say, oh, all whiskey, all Scotch whiskey is smoky and it's dry and like you said, if someone can say that's a dirty smoke or it's like a dry smoke or it's a wet smoke, like if you can add to that, what's your personal experience? What's this whiskey saying to you? It maybe sounds a little silly, but I think, like you said, everyone's got different palates, everyone's got different like flavor memory banks. So like this whiskey could mean something completely different to everyone who's drinking it right now. And I think that's the beauty of it, and especially the beauty of this range, is that we've got something here to please everyone. But when you pair this trilogy together, it's a pretty mighty it's a pretty mighty trilogy.
Oh, that it is. And I mean, I've kept about half of each of the samples, and I'm gonna find it hard not to floor through the rest of them this evening. I'm gonna try and save them for the weekend and really sit down and enjoy them. So there might just be a cheapy old whiskey here that we'll have to do for the rest of the evening because I want to save these and sit down, like you said, maybe keep them for an hour and a half, and just really get into them, you know?
And if everyone here has already finished all three of the drams, you know that Jack has three drams waiting. So feel free to go into his house and ask him for whatever he hasn't drunk
They're welcome. They're welcome to try. I'm in the middle of Dublin, wherever suits. But obviously, the drams delivered as well has I think it should have a couple of packs left. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, so if you really decide you need to get another three, or you want to be really generous to a good friend of yours or a family member, you know where to find them.
But yeah, in terms of everything, that's me. That's the tasting. If you love the brand, if you like the brand, all the usual Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, websites there. And I'm more than happy. Jack has my email. If anyone wants anything, I'm happy for Jack to send my email. I can also send you some of these slides. If you've kept some of the drams, I can send you over the slides. That way, if you're enjoying the whiskies in your own time later on, maybe next week or whatever, you can sit down and reevaluate them on your own. But thank you very much for having me. Like I said, if this tasting wasn't going on, I wouldn't be sitting here having three of these with you. So this is it's a great job to have. I love Glenallachie as a brand. I love these whiskies, and really glad that you would spend your Thursday night listening to me and Jack talking about them. If you have any questions, please stick them up in the chat box, or feel free to send me a message, or get us on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, so guys, and thanks very much, Declan, for giving us your time. I mean, I know you say you enjoy sitting down with them, but it's still, I'm sure you'd prefer to be doing a couple other things than have to talk to me and talk about whiskey. Maybe not, but
You know what? I genuinely wouldn't. I would do this over anything, Jack. You know that.
Yeah, that's fair, and I'd be the same. So I can't complain, lads. If you've any last minute questions or anything, throw them in, or as Declan said a few times now, don't be afraid to pester him. But yeah, it was a great evening, and thanks very much. Perfect night for, as Dave says, perfect for the night in it, especially at the storm outside, and it's only getting worse based on what's happening behind me. So and thanks to everyone for throwing into the chat as well.
And
um
we'll do this same time next week.
yeah, why not? Just a quick last one from Fran, and he is being so polite in this question, but don't take it the wrong way now, Declan, but do you reckon the typeface on some of the boxes looks a little bit cheap? Just
Um, in
a lot of
terms of
brands are doing rebrands at the moment, so maybe I don't know if that's. I mean, I always like the Glenallachie, but some people like I've heard it in the shop too. So Fran's not the first person I've heard say something on a
in
similar
terms
line.
of in terms of the typeface, do you mean specifically on the anniversary stuff, or just the regular boxes? Like what? I'm happy. I'm happy to hear, because the good thing is I'll go get the font. Yeah, I've heard this. I think everyone in the team has heard this once or twice. All I will say is watch this space.
You're when the whiskey game gets boring for you, I feel you could be a politician in Scotland, Ireland, or wherever took your fancy. Fair
Uh,
play, but
if
you're
I
gonna
was
have
a
a lot of eyes
politician,
on you.
if I was a politician, I'd probably have to drink a lot of whiskey to get through them, especially nowadays.
That's for sure. But Fran, yeah,
You know what?
he's saying to to watch the space.
Appreciate the feedback. It's good. It's good to hear. And as a small brand and like as an independent brand, it's nice to get feedback. Like I don't just want to go away feeling like people have been blowing smoke up my backside all night. It's good to get some feedback. It gives us stuff to work on. But yeah, watch this space is all I'll say.
Yeah. We're going to be watching intently now, and in 8 years' time, when that 4-year-old is then 12, we'll be even more waiting. So, but yeah, thanks for everyone who joined, and I feel if no one else has any questions, thanks very much for joining. That 4-year-old definitely amazed a few of us here, I think. But I hope you all enjoyed it, and like I said, Drams delivered. Keep an eye out. There might be one or two left there. So yeah, without anything else, unless anybody has a final question, a quick one, we'll probably end it there. Thanks very much again, Declan, for
Thank you
speaking,
very
and
much.
it was great
And
to
remember,
have you.
if you guys want to see any more Glenallachie stuff going on in Celtic Whiskies, let the guys know. We'll also be at Whisky Live in Dublin, and I'm only a half an hour flight away. So anything that you guys want to see from the brand, more than happy to come over to Dublin and make that happen. So without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much for having us, and thanks for spending your Thursday night with us.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks very much. Good night.
Have a nice night.